my name is Lizzie and this is Lizzie Reads, and welcome to New Year, new video where I'm going for a new me and trying to post every day for the first week of 2023. Today we have a series wrap up from 2022. So another evening filming situation, but we're rolling with it. We're having success so far. It's the first time I've ever said I'm going to do videos every day for a week or 2 weeks or something, and it's actually going well. We're not there yet, but touch wood. So today I'm going to just talk through my series stats and a bit of information about series from 2022, because I watched Becca from Becca and the Books, her series wrap up, or her series spreadsheet video in December, and then Cassidy did one as well, very similar, and Cassidy talked about all of the series that she started and finished, etc. in the year of 2022, but also they showed their spreadsheets. Now, I did use an old spreadsheet. I think it was originally, this particular spreadsheet was created by Gavin, How to Train Your Gavin, and I just used it and had it, but I sort of wiggled around with it. Now, I don't know how to do the thing where we look at the spreadsheet at the same time. So I'm just going to talk you through the stats and have a little chat with you. So I'm really sorry about that. There's not as many visuals as I would like, but we're going for what we can get here. So what I have tracked is the amount of series which I started in 2022 or read or made progress in 2022. And in total, I made progress in 40. So that's at least read one book of, continued, got up to date with it, etc. So 8 of these were started prior to 2022, but most of them are ones that started in 2022. I might go back and look at series that I've got that are still outstanding from prior to last year, but I don't think there'll be many, if not very many, so maybe less than 10, because I'm usually pretty much a binge reader for series, especially ones I like. So any that haven't been included are probably ones that I won't be finishing or have no interest in finishing. So out of the 40 series that I read from this year, I started 32 of them in this year. So 32 new series were started. So that's literally so many different series, I couldn't even list them all for you. Only 17 of those I've read the first book in. So that's quite a lot of series that I've read only the first book, and have intentions to carry on, but haven't carried on so far. This spreadsheet is slightly skewed because I did include Realm of the Elderlings as one entry, and that's only because I don't sort of view them as their individual series, because I could tend to binge read each individual series and then wait a few months before continuing on to the next one. So it's not necessarily the case that I am needing to make progress in each series. So I thought I'd just put them all in there. Unfortunately, only 7 of these are ones that I caught up to or finished. So there are a lot of series that I'm still unfinished in the year, which is very weird and very annoying. I do have some that I've DNF'd. So I decided to DNF 4 series this year. So one of them is the Nick and Holly series by Dana Isley. Dana Isley, this starts with Dipped in Holly, Claimed by Cupid. They're these little short romance or erotic novellas which follow Nick and Holly across the year. Nick is a bar owner, and Holly is a younger woman, so she's about 20, I think, 21, and Nick is 50 or something. So she's in his 20s and he's in his 50s. He has kids, and it's like an age gap seasonal romance. And I was reading this. I didn't like it that much, but I was just reading it for the sake of, going through it. And then I found out Dana Isley has been accused of plagiarising loads of different works. So I just decided to DNF the series because I wasn't enjoying it anyway. So it made it all the easier. I also decided to DNF the series of Daughter of the Moon Goddess, which I thought was okay, and I liked it, but I didn't care for it that much, and I sold my Fairy Loot edition and wasn't interested in buying the sequel. So I just decided that I wasn't going to read it. I thought, nah, it's fine. I don't need to read that. I also DNF'd the Tide Child series by R.J. Barker. This starts with the Bone Ships. The Bone Ships was on my worst books of the year. I thought it was just boring. I'm never going to finish it. I can't remember having the first one anyway, so I just decided to DNF it. And then I also decided to DNF Saga. So I read 2 volumes of Saga this year, and I have previously read 4 volumes, but I started at the beginning and read 2 volumes again this year. And I just decided it wasn't engaging me, it wasn't calling me, so I just left it as it is and thought, do you know what, there's no point just reading it for the sake of having a quick, easy read. There are lots of other things that I'd like a quick, easy read for. I do have a few series on my maybe DNF pile. So these are series that, they're mainly series that I read and didn't necessarily hate, didn't necessarily love, just thought they were okay and potentially would read from again, but they're not on my radar, and if I made no progress with them in the next year, then I'm just not going to bother. So the first one is The Game Changers by Isla Madam Mills. Now, the first book in this series was a 5-star romance for me, and I really loved it. I thought it was really good at the time, but in the sort of, I didn't pick up the sequel straight away, and in the sort of 6 months it's been since I've read it, I've completely forgotten anything about it, except for the fact it was a sports romance and I really liked it. And usually I tend to retain a little bit more information, and I just haven't had the inclination to pick the next one up. So if I haven't picked it up again by this time next year, I might just DNF the series and just sort of not mark it on my spreadsheet anymore. If I eventually was to pick it up, then I would, but it's just something that hasn't called to me. This is similar for the This Woven Kingdom series by Tahara Moffi. I've never read anything by this author before. This was the first book that I've read by them. I listened to the audiobook on Scribd. I was following and I was interested, but it was when I wasn't really super into fantasy, so I kept losing the thread of what was going on just because I wasn't in the mood for it, I don't think, and I thought it was okay and I liked it, and I probably would have continued had I read the sequel immediately, but I didn't. So now I think the sequel's only recently come out anyway, so now I've sort of forgotten everything that's happened and I don't care enough to reread. That may potentially change, or I may read something that refreshes my memory and then I want to read the sequel, but it's just not something that's happening for me right now. We have A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. This is a middle grade about 3 sisters. I think there's 4 of these, and I read the first one for a video on Scribd, and I liked it, but it didn't capture me the way some of my favourite middle grades have, and I just thought there's no point in wasting time reading it. So I may well read it again, but it's just not something, you know, I'm going to waste my time on. Next we have A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. I also read this for a video. I've wanted to read it for a really long time, and then I read it and it was good, and I still am a little bit interested in it, but I feel like it will need some specific circumstances for me to pick it up, because there's just so many other things I'm interested in right now. This one's more likely to stay on the spreadsheet than others, but for now it's staying where it is. Next we have X-Hex by Erin Sterling. I read and enjoyed X-Hex this Halloween spooky season and I enjoyed it, but I just don't have the inclination to pick up the second one. Can you see a theme here? Like, I'm not drawn to it. Next we have The Wright Brothers by Christina C. Jones. These are short novellas, romances about 3 brothers, and I can't really remember much more than that. I know the first one's called Getting Schooled and it's in a university setting. However, I do really like Christina C. Jones's writing, but I just think they're always too short. So they're more trying to pack like a romance novel story into a novella, and I just find that I've read a couple of Christina C. Jones's started the first books in their series, and I just think, I don't know if that sort of style is for me, and I just find it, I always feel like it's a bit of a rush, and at the end I'm a bit disheartened with the fact that it's not long enough, so therefore I'm disappointed by what they've tried to pack in. But I it's a maybe, because I had a good time, but it was a bit dampened by that. Then we have The Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. I only read this because the Late Night Crew were reading it and I wanted to join in, and it was alright. It was a good romance. It was an okay romance. I'd definitely be interested to read the sequels, but I know that there's more, and there's so many romances out there that I am interested in, and this isn't just a top priority. So this one's a more, if I haven't picked it up in a year, potentially I'll lose it. Next we have North Haven University by Kelsey Clayton. I read the first one in this. I could not tell you what it was about. I could not tell you what tropes. I couldn't tell you if it was dark romance. I couldn't tell you if it was bully romance. I couldn't tell you if it's sports romance. I have no idea. All I know is I marked it as read, and that's it. So that's probably not a good idea. But if I come across it again, then I might read it. I don't know. I'm very prone to changing my mind. Lastly, we have Kings of Cyprus Prep by Rachel Jones and Nikki Thorne. This is these are bully romances, which are really like, you know, typical bully romances. They were quite good. I enjoyed them. But it's a 5-book series with 3 brothers. The first 3 books are following the main brother and the girlfriend, or the weren't they girlfriend, and these were really good. These were really high drama, which I love, a good high drama, crazy rich people romance basically. But that side of it was really interesting. But I wanted a bit of a break after reading them so close back to back, because I had other reading commitments, and now I'm sort of not sure if I'm going to go back to the next 2. I don't know. Like I said many times, I may well go back to them, but I'm just not sure at the moment. The last books that I'm actually going to talk through specifically are the series that I did get up to date on or finished in this year, and the first one is Wayland University by Isla Madam Mills. So I mentioned Isla Madam Mills earlier, but Wayland University is a series of sports college romances. I cannot quite remember if they were hockey or football or basketball or what they were, but they were the first 4 books that I read in 2022. So I liked them. They were pretty good, but they weren't amazing. They had a couple of tropes that I don't really like and a little bit repetitive. I got up to date on These Violent Delights, Our Violent Ends duet, so that's complete, by Chloe Gong. I read the entirety of the Mindfuck series by S.T. Abbey, and I have some mixed feelings about that, but that's another one finished. I started and read the entirety of the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, which I actually was really surprised by. It did live up to the hype for me. I got up to date with the Blood and Ash series and the Flesh and Fire series, so the From Blood and Ash prequel series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I'm obviously not finished, but I am up to date as there is more coming. I started and finished the Tea Dragon Society series by Kay O'Neill, which is this cute little picture books about these, or are they graphic novels or picture books? I can't quite remember. I read them on KU, and they're about these little tiny tea dragons that make tea, and they're very cute. I started Monsters by Vanessa Len, which is, the first one's called Only a Monster, and I read that, and that's the first in the series, but I'm up to date because there hasn't been a sequel yet. And I also read Rainbow Grey 2, which made me up to date in the Rainbow Grey series. So there's actually not a lot there that I finished, which is a shame, because in previous years I was really a binge reader for series. So I feel like I've gotten away from that a bit, but I think there's a lot of series, like fantasy series, that I was starting and not really feeling that I was super into them, and just like moving on. And I didn't read that many I didn't read as many romance series as I did previously. I read a lot more standalone romances this year, which was unusual in comparison to my 2021 reading. But tomorrow I'm going to do a romance wrap up where I talk about my favourite romances of the year, how I feel like my romance taste has changed, my romance, exploring romance series and what's going to happen for that. It's going to be a real chatty romance time. So that's all to come. But I think looking at the series that I haven't finished, I'm not going to talk through all of them, but there are a few where I only have the last book to read, or my main priorities being like Realm of the Elderlings. I haven't actually included Wheel of Time here because I did read the third book in the Wheel of Time series, but that was about 7 or 8 months ago, and I read the first 2 in the previous year, and I wasn't really following. I was just sort of reading and not taking as much in as I'd have liked. And I would really like to take part and join the live shows for Sandra's Wheel of Time read along, and I want to reread again, so I've got to find time for that this month, but we'll see how we get on. We'll see what we can squeeze in. But from me, that series chat, so there's just a bit of information, a bit of chat based on the previous year, and I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you tomorrow for the last video of New Year, new video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.